Welcome to the Richard Sherman Podcast. If you're new, hit that sub button. We're here to give you great NFL content. Stay tuned.
Cincinnati, they're 0-3, Richard. I don't think anyone really saw this coming. A lot of folks thought Cincinnati was going to be in that conversation coming out of the AFC this year with a healthy Joe Burrow. You know, they get T. Higgins back. Jamar Chase had a good game last night, but what is the panic meter in Cincinnati right now? Only one team has made the playoffs since 2000 after starting 0-3, and that was the 2018 Texans. What gives with Cincinnati? Do they have any hope of turning this season around after this porous start?
I mean, it's how they've always started, Mitchell. They've always started bad, but it just feels different this time. There's so much discord and distrust. This was Jamar Chase's best game of the season, and it's no surprise that it's when T. Higgins returns to the lineup. I've heard people say that T. Higgins is such a factor that people prepare for, that it helps Jamar Chase get open and it helps him benefit. And that's what good receivers do. I'm sure A.J. Brown helps Devontae Smith helps A.J. Brown. I mean, vice versa. Two good receivers are tough to deal with. But you just got to start to think like this Lou Anarumo defense is going to have to play better. They've played better down the stretch when they've had success. It's because the defense has really locked up. The secondary has locked up. They put pressure on the quarterback with good pass rushing for. It's just not looking the same. The secondary has been tighter than it is. To give up 38 points, it's tough to win that ball game, you know, and you could I came in here see if I'm going to criticize Joe Burrow. You can't. Joe Burrow played really well. He threw the ball well. He threw for 300 yards. He threw for 324, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. They moved the ball. Jamar Chase, 6 catches, 118, 2 touchdowns. T. Higgins, this is his first game back. He had 3 catches for 39 yards, but they distributed the ball. I think they were fine offensively. But defensively, they got to find a way to be able to stop a rookie quarterback. Now, Jayden Daniels had a heck of a day. Mitchell, he was the reason that they lost this game. He played out his mind for him to have a 91% completion percentage and really be taking shots. He took a few shots to Terry McLaurin, and the one of the few passes that he missed, guys were on the internet freaking criticizing him like, how does he miss this? Nobody was within 20 yards of him, yada, yada, yada. But he had a man freaking bearing down on him like you've never been in that position. You've never been in a position to be staring down, looking at an open receiver and then see another human being about to do you harm. And then say, oh, you got to be accurate. He stood in there when he had to, when the game was on the line. It was zero coverage, stood in there and delivered a dime to Terry McLaurin to win that game. So give the rookie a little credit. Again, let's keep the standard of criticism and analysis the same for everybody. If you're going to be this critical about this kid and say, oh, he missed him when he had somebody about to, destroy him, then be that way with every rookie quarterback, because he looks like the best quarterback in the draft this game. It's week to week. Caleb Williams didn't look great. He looked decent at times at the end of the game, but some would say that's garbage time. But right now, Jayden Daniels, with his legs, with his arm, looks the part. I mean, he set the record for completion percentage for a rookie, and it wasn't like he threw it 10 times. They threw it, 23 times? That defense looks solid. I was happy for Dan Quinn, but I can't say solid because they gave up 33 points. And they gave up too many one-on-ones to Jamar Chase. Like, this is one of the best receivers in football. It's between him, Justin Jefferson. There's a few guys in that conversation, but you don't leave him one-on-one unless you got a guy. And unfortunately, Washington doesn't have a elite, worldwide name that's recognized as an elite corner to be saying, hey, we're just going to leave him one-on-one with Jamar Chase and we'll live with that. No, you don't do that. When you do, he has 2 touchdowns and 100 yards, and that's what it looked like. But I don't know. I think the panic meter is like an 8 for me. I know that Cincinnati Bengals fans in the jungle feel confident. Their team has always recovered from these slow starts. But this one just doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel like it's not like Joe's banged up or you're looking at injuries or he's coming back and finding his rhythm. And, he was coming off a calf injury one year and things like that. He didn't get a lot of training camp time. Those aren't factors this year. It just doesn't look the same. And while they're not getting better, you got Pittsburgh kind of running away with the division. They're going to Indianapolis. They could start the season 4-0, and you're 1-3. They're so far behind, and that's not even to mention Baltimore. Baltimore, thank goodness, if you're Cincinnati, they've had a slow start. So, I mean, it's only been one team to start 0-3 and make the playoffs, and that was the Texans in 2018. We'll see if they can be the second.
Well, in terms of the Washington Commanders, they got to be super fired up with what they're seeing with Jayden Daniels. I mean, this guy's got the it factor, Richard. You go on the road in a hostile environment and in prime time, Monday Night Football, and you escape with a win and have some dazzling throws. I mean, he's getting his playmakers involved. I mean, this Washington Commander team could be one of those sneaky teams. And we talked about it in our season preview. Look out for Washington, because if Jayden Daniels can be this year's CJ Stroud, they got enough talent around him. This NFC South is up for grabs, and they're right in the mix with it. Washington's a dark horse, Richard. Buy or sell? We could rewind time a bit back to April. Jayden Daniels should have been the number 1 overall pick.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
But Mitchell, sometimes, and I've said this before, sometimes the benefit and the blessing is in not going number 1. It was CJ Stroud the year before where you're like, man, CJ Stroud should have went 1. I'm sure CJ Stroud is sitting right now in Houston, like, very happy to go to. This is probably the only time in my life that second is just where I want it to be. And this is the same situation with Jayden Daniels. He's walked into a situation where there's a different level of stability, a head coach, a different system, a different city, different coordinator, et cetera, et cetera. And sometimes the right situation for you might not have been Chicago. Maybe he goes to Chicago and his season starts differently, and his maturity and his development isn't the same. We talked about, should first-year quarterbacks be starting? He just showed us that it is possible. CJ Stroud showed us last year, it is possible to be efficient and develop with time on the job. And for him to have the highest completion percentage as a rookie in NFL history, his third game into his career is incredible. So I'm buying that, Mitchell. It's hard not to buy that right now. And I'm trying to find because the Cincinnati Bengals played the Kansas City Chiefs last week. And so we got to see them against Patrick Mahomes in this defense against Patrick Mahomes. And I mean, they held him to 26 points. And that's pretty good for Patrick Mahomes coached offense. They got weapons. Their defense is really good. And then for him to score more points than Patrick Mahomes is really something that you need to keep an eye on. These are two defenses, same defenses. He scored 38, Patrick scored 26. I'm obviously not saying he's anywhere in the stratosphere of Patrick Mahomes, but it just gives more credence that this is a defense that has played, and some guys that have played at a high level at times, and he really had his way with them. When he got pressure, it's sometimes complex looks, sometimes disguised looks that other quarterbacks struggle with. He was able to diagnose it, get the ball where it's supposed to be, only missed 2 throws, and even those 2 throws got criticized. So I'm buying it.